Welcome back to another episode of Abundance on Tap, everyone. This is the official podcast of the Appalachian Water Collective. My name is Alex Corey, and I'm joined as always by the hydrated Ashley Suzanne DeMarco, coming to you today from the mountains of Western North Carolina, and joined by a gentleman halfway across the world on Maui, and showcasing the powerful connectivity of water. And the purpose of this podcast, as Ashley and I chat all the time, is to catalog the powerful transformative stories we're exposed to in our national and global businesses, evolution era and global prosperity movement. And this is a new entrant into our business expansion group with a lot of common history and interests, and caught my eye. This is Instagram Dad Activated, which I just thought was such a good Instagram profile handle, and I'll turn it over to Ashley to do any announcements for Appalachian Water Collective and to introduce Jeff Hudson. How are you doing today, Ashley?
I'm great, thank you. So happy to be here. Just got to be in the garden for the last hour, so I'm feeling the vibe of that. And yeah, Jeff and I met through Instagram, and I just saw his inspiration right off the bat, like drinking the water and just seeing like bam, transform, like this whole maybe like, just he just showed up in a new way. And working with, my direct mentors that I've been building this business with for 3.5 years. And I just saw, wow, this guy is ready. He's activated. He wants to be here. And just like you mentioned, he's a dad. And so, it's the best part of our global community is how diverse we are, because most of the other communities we know are just very specific, and yet we have, we encompass all ends of the spectrum. And just to have father energy in the group and somebody who's coming in activated, because normally we're talking to the women, right? We're talking to the moms, and the moms are going, okay, let's, pushing their husbands to make these changes. And it's so I know things are changing for the better when we've got Jeff here. So thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'm grateful to have you.
Awesome. That's so true. It's the women usually go first, right, and try to bring the dads along begrudgingly to improve their habits. And yeah, I'm a solo dad these days, so I got to do these things for myself and figure it out. And it's been really great getting to know the community. It's kind of been a light and also a really a place that I really enjoy going, because I've looked for that community. Like I come from a team background when I was a kid, like a lot of sports and stuff, and I do better in a team environment than I do on my own. And as a digital entrepreneur for 20 years, I've gone stretches where it's just been me, kind of navigating through something or a problem or a strategy, and like it's so easy to get stuck by yourself, like just with simple things like a technical thing here or there, and you end up wasting days. And I text Annie all the time over here, hey, how do you do this? And like she'll, oh yeah, you just do this. And then I'm like, oh, problem solved. Whereas me on my own, I'm just running into roadblocks a lot of the time. So the community part is super important for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of entrepreneurs have I'm going to build everything from scratch mentality, and I have that for sure. And it's nice to be able to do that and to be able to lift yourself up from your bootstraps, so to speak. Yeah. So to have the fire under you, but it is so much more rewarding and so much less draining having that community support, where I wouldn't go backwards. If I had to start over, I would find community immediately again. It's so much more rewarding.
What's unique about this community too is that it's not your competitors that you're being in a community with. It's people that are rooting for you, which is a huge difference. And subtly, like entrepreneurs find other entrepreneurs in community, and a lot of times you're kind of, we call them frenemies.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, what are you doing? Oh, how'd you, and you're not unwilling to share information. And here it's just nothing but raw, like, hey, I want to see you win, and you can benefit from the people on your team winning. And it's a great, unique situation where I hadn't experienced that before. So it's really fun. It makes it fun.
Yeah, part of the part of the whole setup is abundance mindset. And that's the nice part that comes with abundance mindset is collaboration, because you're no longer in scarcity mode and competing with everyone. So yeah, I agree. That is one of the best feelings is everyone's got your back.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
it all starts with water, right? Like that's so
Right.
so unique about it is it's like the majority of humanity of all living life. And here we are getting connected by this, and it's truly it's something that when you're having conversations with people, it's hard to really share the abundance of what it is because you're like it's overwhelming to somebody to
Right.
think like this is out there, this is possible, right? It's like there's so many different facets to it. So I'd love to know, like, when you purchased this technology, did you know that like this was on the other side? Did you know like the feeling you're going to get from this community, just the training, the support, like you said, like that one-on-one, being able to text somebody and have them respond to solve a problem in less time than it would have taken you on your own? Like, can you just tell us, did you even know that was there? Because I know Alex didn't. And yeah, I would love to hear.
Yeah, I didn't. I totally stumbled onto this. My story with this started last year actually, and where I was, I had kind of gone through it, obviously a change in marital status and started having to look after myself better than I was. And, what a lot of dads do, moms all too, but like in a different way, like you just kind of are always falling on the sword and putting yourself last. Like, yeah, I'm not doing this for myself because, and that's a better reason. And like you end up kind of showing up really depleted all the time and not in your best way. And, for me, the outlet was kind of self-medication at night. Like, hey, I busted my ass all day. I'm out here working 2-3 jobs, giving my kids a good life and not doing anything for myself at all. And so what that shifted, when I started to have more time for myself and I started looking around for how do I get healthier? How do I get back on track? How do I, what am I looking for? I stumbled on this. Somebody I was hanging out with at the time took me to a thermal contrast spa in Haiku that was really new and it was popular, and it was a friend of hers, and it's called Elevate Maui, and took me there, and we had an amazing time. And it really, the whole thermal contrast experience, a cold plunge and sauna basically is what I'm talking about. That experience like just triggered something in me, and in the upper Midwest where I'm from, it's really popular, and I hadn't done it in a long time. It's part of the Finnish and Swedish culture and up north. And I just loved it. And I was like, oh my God, I have to do this and I have to get more involved in this. So I really started following that page, that Instagram page. And then Annie went for a visit and posted a video. And I was like, I didn't know her. But I looked at her profile and I was interested. And I was like, wow, what is this that she's doing? And I became interested. I started watching a lot of her videos, and I was more attracted to the business part of what she was doing, like her presentation of her ability to kind of live the way she wanted while working on Maui. It's a big thing here. Most people have 3 jobs. Low income is technically defined on Maui as $106,000 a year for a family of 4. That's low income. So people with 6-figure jobs are still paycheck to paycheck here. So what she was doing was, I was like, man, how is she doing that? And I got my business brain started going. I'm like, I got to figure this out. And I scheduled a call with her. I had no idea about the water. I didn't know anything. I was like, clean water, okay? Is it filtered water? Like, what are we talking about? Like, it wasn't anything special to me at all. But the business part was. So as I started talking to her and we jumped on a call, her vibration was what started to pull me in. Like, she was obviously operating at a way higher vibration than I was, but I kind of aspired to be there, and I didn't know why. I was just like, it's magnetic, right? But you don't know that the water is behind that unless you're being told that directly. So the way she was living and the vibration she was at, and kind of just the way she was doing it, I was like really intrigued by it. I was like, I got to understand how you're doing this. And And that's when the whole journey started for me. The water came very slowly along as I tried the water. I still didn't really believe it though. And then all these things started to happen. I started to get really activated in many other ways. And Annie just kept saying, "It's the water, dude." And like it's the water. I'm like, "Oh, maybe you're," I'm like, I kept saying that like over weeks and weeks. I was like, "Oh, I guess so." And then like you start raising your vibration, and then the water is the foundation of it. And start taking, just everything has kind of snowballed from there. So it came out of nowhere for me, really. That's how I got here.
I like the unexpected aspect of that.
Yeah.
Because it's always interesting to see what angle people come from. The business is a major player for specifically people who come from an entrepreneurial background. And the water, often people get exposed to first if they come from the health background, because or growing. So I'm a farmer and I do health coaching. So the water was sort of a conduit to health and to growing other things. But whenever I hear people how they come to the business aspect of it and then have the radical fundamental changes as a byproduct, I almost wish I went that way so I could feel the dramatic unexpected changes, because I sort of expect things at this point. It kind of kills a little bit of the mystery. So I love hearing that aspect for you.
It's funny, like I've experienced it with a couple other, not this profound. I mean, the water is something really special, but I get the same feeling of activation sometimes I started hunting a little when I moved out here, and we have a really unique ecology, like the food and the air and the way Maui is structured. We don't get a lot of the contaminants in our food supply that other places do. I mean, we do have some problems with Monsanto, right? But
trade winds keep it at bay almost.
The animals here.
Do the trade winds keep it at bay?
It's just like we're not getting runoff from big farming, right? Like that's the thing. Like it doesn't pollute our rivers like it does on the mainland and all that kind of thing. So like a lot of the food here is really activating, is kind of what I'm getting at. And going hunting here, the animals, their diet, like the deer that eat grass, mac nuts and guava, and like you eat this food and you're like, oh my God, like it's like you're eating dead food and then you eat this really alive food. And it's the same feeling with the water. Like it's a noticeable difference. And it just kind of smacks you like, well, how did I not do this before? And why am I not doing it all the time? But particularly with the water though, it's very interesting, like how I never heard of this. I'm 50 years old. Like I never heard of this. Like I'm pretty clued into, like, I follow a lot of healthy people online, and I kind of think that I'm aware of most of the things, but I had never heard of this water. I didn't have any clue what it was. I just thought it was filtered water or alkaline water or whatever. And I thought it was much simpler than it was. And so yeah, I was like, unbelievable. How did I not know? But now we know why we don't know, right?
Yeah,
they
exactly.
Don't want you to know.
When you say activated, can you describe what you felt over days or weeks in your body specifically?
Yeah, Annie uses this word a lot, activated, and it's kind of a new concept for me. But I think what it is it feels like something is pulling you somewhere. Like there's a giant magnet of goodness, and you're just getting pulled to it, and you don't know why. So like if you just are open to more of that, and you're not like putting up walls and reasons and excuses, like if you just kind of let yourself go to that, then you find, like in particular, like maybe after drinking the water one day, like you have a little more energy and you work out a little harder. And then because I worked out a little harder, I slept a little better. So I sleep a little better and I wake up the next morning, damn, I feel pretty good. I better drink that water again. That started the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then you do it again, and it's just that thing builds on another thing. So now maybe I'm working out 2 days in a row better than I was before, and I don't want to lose that feeling. So I keep keep along that path, right? And then, hey, I made a new connection, and then maybe I'm not drinking because I'm trying to be healthy, and this is supporting me being better hydrated than I was. I mean, dude, when you're drinking too much, like the chronic dehydration, it doesn't just affect your cramping or workout, it's affecting your brain. There's a lot of research that shows that. And so as things start to expand and maybe I'm using more of my brain and I'm in better shape and I'm sleeping better, maybe the relationship, I'm showing up better for my kids. Like it compounds and you start elevating the whole vibration. So that's how it feels. And just the difference in, I don't know, it's been 60 days or something maybe since I kind of stumbled on this. And I was on a path of health before, but this kind of has, I don't know, turbocharged the whole thing, the whole experience.
Yeah, 2 months is real fast. It sounds like an amplified positive feedback loop.
Yes.
Which is the best thing to experience whenever you just don't want the magic to end. Yeah. It's like, what do I have to do to keep this going? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a ripple. Like everything that you were saying, or just like ripple, ripple, ripple. And the more you were open, right? The more you are open to receive and also give back to yourself. Because like you said, now you have the brain space to kind of be like, well, who am I? What do I want?
Right.
Like what value, what do I value? What do I want to spend my time doing? Who do I want to spend my time around, and really coming back to you and really rewiring what it should look like to be a father, because the depletion is a societal error, right? The depletion and the deprivation and the dehydration and the just like lack of minerals and all the things, right? It's all built in. There's actually a purpose to that, right? It's like just perpetual disease, perpetual, not in our bodies, wanting to, dehydrate more with alcohol and other things. And it's just so common to do the opposite of everything that you're sharing. It's so common to complain and be on a loop of downward spiral, whereas what you're experiencing is the complete opposite. And it is that vortex of magic and just like Annie says, and she got from Abraham Hicks, like the better it gets, and you're just following that feel good feeling. And it's so, I mean, we're across the whatever world, and I feel that transformation through our conversations, Zoom and things like that. It is more intimate than just a Facebook post or an Instagram post, but we are getting to connect to people who are having this massive transformation just like this, and really step off the screen. Cause I think you're going to Vegas. So if we're getting to go and meet you guys in person. And so it's just, thank you so much for sharing that. I wanted to say, and just, keep following that feel good, because honestly, I don't think there's anything more important than parents who are actually full and they're overflowing instead of just complete and utter deprivation, and just pulling from that empty cup that is constantly empty, and that's how I felt prior to having the water. And that's why it's so beautiful that you came to it for the business and then had this profound experience through the water, because like I said, it is this massive thing. So
yeah, it is. It really is. And the connection's real. And, it's kind of like, we shouldn't be like the outliers, which we are. Like, this is like, I look around for other dads online and like, it's generally, you find two categories of dads kind of publishing online. They're either like super fitness focused and really healthy and almost like not extreme, but like it's all about the exercise. And then the other group of movements that you'll find online right now are just, that's a lot about, rightfully so, reclaiming like some kind of like positive masculinity, which, it's a toxic word these days, and it hasn't been done the right way, and it hasn't been celebrated the right way. And so those are the two you'll find. And the guys who are really pushing the masculine, I think, are like they're kind of on the right track, but it tends to be very extreme. It's like Navy SEALs and like I got to do this and be super hard, and it's, I just find that like there's a somewhere in the middle, and there's somewhere more balanced that you need to be, but it all comes back to like your ability to fill your own cup before you can do somebody else's. And like I'm always, most dads, 99 and a half out of 100 are just pouring out of an empty cup all day long, not doing it for themselves. And then, you know, like this, the phone is where you're getting your dopamine, and alcohol is where you're getting your dopamine, and it's just it's a bad cycle to be in. And people excuse it all the time because, like, you know, it's hard, but it's so much easier if you're trying to be selfish a little bit at the beginning, and like I got to get my run in, and I got to get my walk in the morning, I got to get my sun, I got to get, you know, vitamin D, and just all the things. Like if I skip them, I miss my vitamin D, and then I want to drink at 4 o'clock. Like that's how it works. And like I know when that hits, and I'm like, oh, guess what? I skipped my cold plunge today. I didn't get my run in because of whatever excuse. And then like I'll go right back to that. It wouldn't take me long to get back to that. It'd take me like one day, and I would be back at that bad place, and the energy's lost and the momentum's lost. But if you can just keep that thing spinning a little bit, it doesn't take a lot of effort to keep it going once you get it going. But you got to get through that initial inertia, and then it's a lot easier, and then everyone else is happier because I have more energy and I can do things that I wasn't doing before.
Yeah, you hit on a massive subject. A law of inertia is a very real thing in lifestyle change, in fitness. And what a lot of people don't realize is what you just said, which is it's not the doing the one thing that you missed that day. It's the cascade of things that will or will not happen because of that starting point. So if you just changing one little thing in the morning will cascade into either your normal version of the day, which you might not want to subscribe to anymore, or into the best version of your day where you'll hit all of those different boxes. What's your, before you came into the water, what was your, did you have a routine, or what were you working on or noticing? So you mentioned a lot of different epigenetic and lifestyle factors in there.
Yeah, like my normal was, I mean, before the separation divorce thing, my normal was just extreme work and a lot of time, stagnant time, and, you know, self-medication at night. And then I would go through periods of working out and not working out, like, and just blaming other things for my ability not to work out. Like, I get this and that and the other thing. And then as I started to focus on myself, my routine, I became pretty militant about a routine of I call it my bookend strategy. So workout in the morning, workout in the afternoon. So it gets your metabolism going in the morning and your endorphins. And then when you start to flag off, instead of going for happy hour, you're going to work out. And then that got my metabolism going, and then my health started to get better. So, but I kept drinking. And then, but I did that for a while, and I was like, okay, I'm balancing and whatever. I wasn't really, but I thought I could justify that. And but once I made the commitment to really, like, I had a moment where I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop drinking, and then I'm gonna really commit to that. And then as I started to do that, I knew in my prior attempts to quit drinking that I could make it about 3 or 4 or 5, maybe 6 months. But I would always kind of, the willpower gave out after a while, because you forget how effing bad you were and how bad your life felt. And you forget that 6 months later. So you're like, and then you see a bunch of friends like, hey, come on, man, like, have a couple beers, and you enjoy a sunset, and you're like, God, that's great. I really miss this. But then you're back, you know, you slide back into that. So what I did was I found someone here, which is really out of character for me. I went a little more woo-woo than I normally was comfortable with. And everybody was on the trend of psilocybin psilocybin's for microdosing for therapeutic benefit of PTSD, mental health issues, and so on and so forth. So I found somebody here, Rachel Tarver, in Haiku. You can look her up on Instagram. She's amazing. And she went through and kind of put me through a guided therapeutic experience that involved not just the psilocybin, but a course that kind of walks you through what you're doing and why and how, and then also somatic experiencing. So she does that as well. So it's the way I describe it to people is it's like meditation with microdosing with intent. And that was step one of really getting into why are you drinking, and then what you can't just stop drinking. Like you can remove alcohol and then you still have all these other issues. It'll solve 9 out of 10 problems in your life just removing the alcohol, but like that 10%, that's what's effing you up in the long run. So you got to go in and dive in, and that's what the somatic experiencing and that whole strategy, the modality is for. It's for removing whatever it is that scar tissue is that needs to be healed. So I went through that. And then I was like, damn, I don't want to drink anymore. Like I started it really removed this chunk of anxiety is really what it did. And then you start adding in our water to really bring the homeostasis down and anchor it. Like I feel like it's unstoppable. Like, wow, I just figured something out that I should have learned a long time ago, but I feel like more well than I ever have, I guess is a really horrible way to put it, but I just feel a lot better. And it's those things combined along with the water is kind of, I look at it as my foundational piece because it's really your 70% water or whatever the number is. Like if that's in homeostasis and then I clean up all these other things, I just feel like unstoppable. I feel like I'm 20 again, like energy wise.
Wow. Yeah. Anti-aging. That's incredible. And whenever I hear most common excuse people use, I think, is their age, or just either I've made it this long, I'll be fine, or
right.
There's a lack of implied energy there. But yeah, people are always surprised when we're like, I feel 30 years younger or however younger than I am. And you can get it back rather quickly. It's amazing. The capacity of the human body to regenerate is almost unlimited. It's what I live for, literally.
I wish everybody could have this feeling, or I could just hand it to somebody. But you gotta be willing to do it. You gotta want to do it. It's like anything else. And but man, I just wouldn't trade it for anything. And the best thing I can do is just describe it to people so that they're intrigued to do it. And that's another good thing, right? About the way, Ashley, we're talking about how the community spreads and the vibe spreads. I posted something about finishing 75 hard, which is another thing I did. And my neighbor, I went and brought him some water that next day, and he's like, it's my birthday today. And I'm like, oh, are you going out tonight? And he's like, yeah, but I'm not drinking. You inspired me. I got to get back in the gym and I got to do this. And I'm like, here's your water. Start there, get back in the gym. And it's just because I was feeling good, I posted that, and then now he's gonna feel good, right? And it's just like a ripple effect, like you said. That's cool. That's fun.
Yeah, it's the best. I'll let Ashley ask a question soon, but I have one. A while ago, you said whenever you made the decision the last time to stop. So I listened to a lot of Joe Dispenza, and the main thing that always catches my attention, he always says two things that are profound, and one of them is the amplitude of the decision you make and emotion you experience when you make it has to be so large that it overwhelms your past conditioning. So if it's not too personal for you, I would love to hear how you made that decision. What did you feel when you made that decision last time to stop? Do you remember?
Yeah. You mean what was that feeling this time?
Yeah, this most recent time. So whenever you're like, this is it, this needs to happen. What was behind that made that one stick?
Wow, that's a really good question. I feel like it's more like a realization that you're feeling so bad. It's you can get to a pretty dark place, and it's almost like I think I would say there's a repeated, most people that reach that level are every day you're saying this is it. Like I'm stopping today. And you do that, you can do that for years.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of self-loathing that comes the next day, and it compounds on itself. So like you're just, I was just feeling so horrible for so long, and like very conscious. I'm a really aware person, like annoyingly, and I was so aware that I was performing so badly for myself, and like I just felt so bad day after day after day. Like I just got sick of it one day, and so then I looked for like an external thing, because I'm pretty good if I give myself an external goal and will commit to it. So I stumbled on 75 hard, and I'm like, that's the thing, because there's no drinking allowed. I was like, okay, I will do it for that. It wasn't really for me, but I knew like I had to do something. So I attached myself to the 75 hard thing. And then that got me through day one, and then day two. And then when you stop drinking like that much volume, like your body just doesn't know what to do with that energy. And like you start to feel really like I've got surplus energy, and putting it into that started to make me feel better. So that was like my initial anchor. Like that was the lifeline, like holding on the freaking rope of 75 hard. And then like after that gave me the footing to kind of take the next step. And like I became a little more open because I was feeling better, and I was looking for more of that. And that's, that was how I was open enough. Bradley, have you seen the Bradley Cooper interview with Barbara Walters? I think it was Barbara Walters, about where she's like, would you ever go back to drinking? He's like, no. And she's like, why? And he's like, well, I wouldn't be here, because I would have never been, I wouldn't have had enough of myself available to receive like all the things that have put me here. Like I just wouldn't have had that. And like, if I would have stumbled on Annie's video on Instagram like any other day when I was in the other mindset, it just would have passed right by. I wouldn't have been available in myself to like appreciate anything of what she was saying. I just went, keep swiping. And then, so it's all about that, being available for that experience. And that's what is really powerful, because then it just, like you said, snowballs, and it attracts more of that. And I'm in a good place. I'm not freaking not getting outside of this bubble I got going right now. It feels great. So,
yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That's powerful. Yeah. Law of resonance doesn't mean anything until you experience it. And then you're like, oh, that's what that is. Let's keep doing that.
Right. More of that, please.
Yeah. That was fantastic. Yeah. I always look for how people cultivate lasting change. That's what gets me up in the morning. So that's why I asked that question, because it is the hardest thing. I have daily conversations with myself of things I want to either stop doing or start doing. But I love these conversations because it feels like cheating, because I get wisdom from everyone else who have done remarkably harder things than I have. Like I've never been a big drinker, so I can't put myself in that frame of reference, but I have other vices that detract my energy, and that is remarkably helpful. So thank you for that.
Interesting. That's
How do you feel through that, actually?
Thing. You're like hacking you're hacking the magic, man. I love it.
Yes. I mean, his Instagram handle is cultivated change. So, the fact
now
that
it makes sense.
How people cultivate change is really in alignment for him.
You are in alignment.
Yeah. I just love everything that you've been sharing, and just so, I've been able to see, your story over and over and over, right? Like just like coming to it, not really knowing, and then boom, like on the other side of the yes, on the other side of that investment, right? You're just like flooded, right? For better terms, with the best hydration, the most amazing community, and now like this business opportunity, right? And so for being in business for 20 years, in digital marketing, right? Or marketing, you now get a product that's in such alignment with actually where you want to be, and how like you said, when you wake up, like your base is hydration. And that's for me. Like, I'm like, if I get my gallon in, I know I'm a better mom, right? Like, I know I'm a better partner. I know I'm
Right.
at my most peak performance mentally, right? Because for me, it's all about mental health right now with having two small children who are
Yeah.
constantly needing me and managing all the other projects I have going on. And then
Yeah.
also just living in the world that we're living in, because it's like you said, we shouldn't be the minority. Like it shouldn't be the fact that I'm, having to grow 70% of my food to make sure that my kids are eating well, because
Wow, I'm
I
jealous.
don't,
I'm
you
so
know,
jealous.
we don't trust. I mean, I just don't like, I'm like looking at organic, we're seeing what's coming off of it with our product. Like we're just in this era where we're having to do so much more ourselves, right? We're having to take way more responsibility and already have, the challenges of parenting children that are, we're not just throwing in front of screens all the time. We're like really trying to like give them tools to be worldly, right? And so I guess my next question for you is, you know, how does it feel to have all of the things that you just described, this vortex of just good energy flowing your way, and that fact that the business actually will fund the financial part too, and build a legacy for your children, and like be able to leave them with something like, I mean, your kids are teenagers, I'm guessing.
15 and 17. First of all, you're doing all the things right, and if you're growing 70% of your food, I want to move onto your property because I have a hard time with that part. But that's amazing what you're doing, and I really admire it. And I have a business partner from my past business in Texas, and I was like, I got to introduce you to Ashley, because she likes homesteading, right? And she's just getting into that. And she has kids that are your age as well. And it's so important, and it's almost like taking a step back, to go forward, because we got to get back prior to like 1970, when we started using Monsanto and the pesticides, and it destroyed farming. And that's a whole nother conversation, right? But like, it's taking a step back to step forward the right way, and like kind of wipe the slate clean and build it all yourself. And I think your main point was about alignment, and that's really important to talk about, because when I started my digital career, it was as the internet, like, I mean, I aged myself a minute, but it was as the internet was becoming commercially viable. So we're talking about the mid-90s. And I was working for Sesame Street doing all the print ads for the tour show, the Elmo shows that goes all over. And I was working in an analog world, and then I saw the internet, and I was like the commercial internet, and I was like, that's where it's going. We need to, and I started to build their first website for the Sesame Street business. And then I got hired by America Online, which is the number one internet service provider at the time. And I went along that path, working for other people for 10 years, just because it was exciting and I was learning. And then I finally broke free. I developed a niche where I knew how to generate leads for businesses. And that was as Google AdWords became a thing, I became well known for that. And I started my own business. And within a year, it hit 7 figures. And that was when my son was 1. So I've posted this before, I missed the entire first year of his life. I went to work in Chicago. I took the train 40 minutes down into the city. I worked until 5. I caught the 5:15 train back to my neighborhood. I would walk in the house, kiss the baby, eat something, pour a drink, and I went upstairs into my little nook where I worked, and I did client work for my side hustle until 10:30 at night, and I would go to bed and do the whole thing over again. So that's all I ever saw my son, was that half hour, before, like, hey, it's time for him to get ready for bed. I was like, okay, back to work. And I literally did that for a year until my business blew up. And then at that point, once the way I approached it was, when I replaced the income of the salary, then the salary's gone. That's what I did. And then as I grew the business, the work got too big. I had to hire somebody, and it went really big, really fast. And I experienced a lot of success, but I hated the work. Like, I didn't hate the work. I liked what I was kind of doing, but like, it wasn't in alignment at all. Because what happens is, as you build most businesses, especially in the agency, the digital world, where it's client schmoozing, there's politics, there's all these relationships, and I just wanted to do the work and clock in, clock out, and get back to what I wanted to do. And so I always had this like uncomfortable feeling with what I had to do to make money versus like what I really thought I would like to be doing. And that's, all I had done was create another job, a job that I owned. Like, I think that's on that paradigm, the 4 groups, right?
Yeah. Cash flow quadrant.
Cash flow quadrant. Thank you. And I hated it so much that my partners at the time, we were always trying to devise a website or a product or business that we could own completely, and then just hire people to run. So we had this agency business where we had clients that we were servicing. We hated it. So we were always like throwing money at developing another thing. And we did that one day, and one of the ideas hit. And it became like the second or third day that we hit this and figured this thing out. I mean, we were making a lot of money, like right away. So we staffed that thing up. And now I had 2 7-figure businesses running at the same time. I hated one of them completely. The other one was kind of cool because we had done it, but like there was nothing about it that was in alignment. So now I had 2 jobs that I was experiencing financial success, but I hated every minute of it. And within 2 to 3 years, I was so burned out that I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. And on top of that, I started buying rental properties because I was like really compulsive about making money. So that was my 3rd job now. And I bought 7 properties in 1 year. And like, that was what triggered me, like going, okay, I'm going to have a heart attack if I don't stop going at this pace. And where's my kids at this time? Where's my relationship with my wife? Like, that's like 5th on my line of things to do during the day. Was not a balanced way to do things. And anyway, so long story longer, I think being out of alignment with what you're doing is a huge problem, and it caused me to burn out, and it caused me to lose all that. This is what happened. Basically, as I came out to Hawaii, I lost attachment from that vibe that I was in, and then everything just kind of slowly withered away. And then I'm looking. So when I found this thing, I had this conversation with Annie. I'm like, I don't like network marketing. I don't like MLMs. I don't like anything. I don't want to do that kind of. I had an all stigma up here, right? But as I looked at it, I was like, wait a minute. Annie's in real alignment with what she's doing. Like, everything that comes out of her mouth is exactly what she's feeling. It's true. And she's making it work. So maybe there's an alignment that I can, if the product is about health, and I'm all about health right now, what's out of alignment? There's nothing. Like, I'm just promoting something that I'm using to get better in my day-to-day life. I was like, wait a minute, Annie, I could maybe do network marketing if it feeds what is true within me. And now I'm in alignment, and this product is about my health. I'm more than happy to talk about it. And yeah, there's some cringe moments getting over promoting something, but I got over it really quickly because I'm in the process of getting over it. And it wasn't super quick. I shouldn't say that, but it is something I'm conscious of and I'm aware of, but I'm fully comfortable in. Like, tell me why this doesn't work for me. Like, I was on a Zoom call yesterday with a business partner in the other business that I had. And she's like, she didn't say anything, but the first thing she said was, "You look great." Like, I'm not saying that to feed my ego. She's like, she could tell. Like, she's been on calls with me. My eyes are baggy. I look like shit. I'm overweight. And she's like, "You look great." And I'm like, I know, because I feel great. Like, thank you for acknowledging that and seeing that. And like, what other testimony do you need? Like, I'm in alignment right now. Like, my work is in alignment. The product is in alignment with how I'm feeling and what I want for myself. That's what you need to be successful, because now there's no excuses. I don't dread going to work. I don't have a job, like Annie and I laugh all the time when we're texting back and forth. Like, we get to do this. Like, come on.
Yep. That's powerful. So you got the freedom slipping back in. I had the same conversation with a partner the other night where that's why I selected all the businesses I did, because I don't yet have kids, and one of the primary modes of setting myself up for success is I want to be able to be there fully, be present with kids for the entirety of their childhood. So all of the businesses I have give me that leverage. So I learned from everyone else saying I missed this period. I don't feel good about it. I wasn't as present as I could be. Known Ashley for a couple of years and seen her doing it all fully present. So that is 100% one of the reasons that anything I touch now needs that location freedom, time freedom, and financial freedom trifecta.
Freedom trifecta.
Yeah.
Amen.
Except farming. Haven't figured out that one yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I would just put them out in the farm. I just paid Aiden to spray some diatomaceous earth.
That's cool.
I mean, again, your journey is so terrific. And of course you have Annie like right there, and Garrett and everybody who's like, you know, you can meet up with and feel their energy right off the bat. And just the fact that you're finding this, I mean, I don't know what you look like before you found it, but I do know that you don't even look a day over 30, you know, with like your skin, you just feel your energy. And so everybody around you is seeing it, right? Your business partners on the mainland or whatever, you know, they're feeling it through the screen. So can you imagine what they're going to feel like when they see you in person? And so when it comes back to like this yuck feeling of network marketing, I think that what we do, and especially Annie, I mean, I've learned so much from her, but it's like just sharing our life, right? Like you're sharing your runs, you're sharing like, you know, how you feeling, like you're just showing up and being raw and sharing your life. And how difficult is that really? Like what we make working all these, you know, like especially I can imagine in digital marketing, you're like working for all these other brands, trying to build out these things and these people's different, you know, idiosyncrasies. And then you've got you and your brand. And now it's just like, I'm living a good life. I'm feeling great. I'm getting out there. I'm doing it. And then that is just attracting people in, right? And, you know, you can do paid advertising, but also you're just like sharing your lifestyle.
Right.
So when it comes to not liking, because this is a huge thing you touched on, and this is a massive trigger point or rejection point, a reason why people don't join us. They're so turned off by network marketing. They hate MLMs. It's so gross. Like even talking about it, they're like, ew, why would I ever support something like that? And so, you know, if you're talking to somebody listening who's just like how you feel or you felt about it, like what would you suggest? Like what are some of the things that kind of got you over that, just like changed your mind? Because that's a massive reason why so many people watching this have not yet.
No, that you hit it on the head. I mean, I think especially in that earlier part of my life where network marketing was a little different, especially pre-internet, right? Like, so you were doing parties and you're having your friends over and you're selling them Tupperware. Like, that's cringy, and you don't want to have to do that. And I think that technology has really enabled it to be. This is a weird shift, but I would describe it as this: like, I feel like I'm actually using social media now the way it's really intended versus what I was doing before. So what I would do before was just scrolling, funny video, send it to my brother, scrolling, save a video about running, scrolling, just consuming, and not making connections. And this is the thing that Annie showed me, and Destiny, and everybody, all you guys, when I started to dig around, like, and I literally looked at account after account after account, and I'm like, I didn't see anybody who was like fake. I just saw people doing different things, farming, homesteading, surfing, like people were doing just basically the way Annie describes it, I think one day she said this to me, and I wrote it in a note, so I'm attributing it to her, but it's like, we get paid to be ourselves. I was like, that's cool. That's really, really cool. Because nobody's like, you can tell when people are fake. Like if I'm Grant Cardone and I got the G5 that I leased for the day to do a photo shoot, and I'm like, I'm just trying to big time everybody. Like, that's so gross. It's so transparent. I don't believe you. It turns me off like immediately. But when I see somebody like saying, hey, here's my process and this is me being real, and like that's but I'm at a higher vibration, and I can, like, I'm magnetically drawn to that higher vibration. Then I started to see how this could work, and so I didn't stop. I still consume a heck of a lot of my phone, but I shifted a little bit into the organic strategy that you guys have for growth that's in our training in Evolution Era. Like, you start there before you do the paid ads. And what I learned through that process was, I was working this out with Annie all the time. I'm like, I can do this if it's in alignment with what I am right now. And what I am right now is a guy trying not to drink and trying to get better and healthier and be a better dad. So I just started following a lot of sober people online that were my inspiration. And then I would just follow the strategy of the $1.80 strategy. Just leave 4 comments and leave, interact with, 2 new people. And then I found like, hey, like they liked my comment, that I was supporting them and I would appreciate their journey. And then they liked me back, and then they followed me back. And then I wasn't manipulating anything. I'm just like out there looking for inspiration and appreciating somebody else. And then maybe I posted one thing, they came back and saw me do it. So now we have a connection. And now I'm actually using social media for how it's intended, for like connecting with people that I'm inspired by. And then maybe, if I'm lucky, inspiring somebody else. So that I feel like I'm doing that now. And that is how it's intended to be done. And it's in like I'm in alignment with what I'm doing. I'm not pretending to be anything. I'm not. Like, I post probably almost too much of like my process and my struggles. I'm out there, and I get a lot of encouragement from Annie to post that kind of stuff because she appreciates hearing about it. So I'm like, you know what, maybe this will help someone else. And then I realize a lot of what I'm consuming is just somebody else posting about, how did I get through that 100-mile run? What do I do when I have a craving after, like, comes out of nowhere after 3 months? Like, how did I get through that? And I was literally before this call commenting on somebody's post about that. And I just said, hey, I appreciate you sharing your process. And she loved that. And now we have a connection. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what it's about.
Your process with this is so important. Like, right. It's more important than anything. Because, I come from my grandfather, my father, my uncle, my cousins, they're all in the beer industry. And so beer and drinking is a huge part. Like, brewery, distributors, bars, like, I've done it. I worked in corporate actually for MillerCoors. So for you to say and show up and talk about, because I don't even really talk about it anymore, but I don't drink either. And I don't drink more so for like seeing the damage that it's done to my family reasons. But
you should talk about that.
I should. It's just so raw still, still the same people's drinking the same things, causing the same problems, for like pretty much majority of my life, and so it's really interesting to just see your transformation through that. And I think that was the first thing that I shared of yours that you posted. It was like, it showed maybe your blood pressure, some sort of statistic that I sent to Alex right away. And I was like, wow, because this is the stuff that I wish was published more. This is what I wish people talked about more, because, obviously the alcohol industry is so large, right? And, our product is boring to people who are in the alcohol world, right? Like, they just want something that's going to get them out of their body. They want to escape. They want to, bubbles and have, what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yes.
they want that feeling. And so, when we're at events and we're sharing water, it's like, we sometimes feels like we're going an uphill battle because we're just constantly going against like what everyone else wants, which is sugar, alcohol, bubbles, right? And so for you to share your experience on here, I'm just so grateful for that, because, and just continuing to share it on your social media. And I just encourage you to keep doing it. And don't think that it's too much or that you're too much or anything, because there are more than probably millions of people going through your exact struggle right now. And the people that don't reach out are the actually ones that might be getting transformed the most from it. And you won't know until like they come back and they're like, you know what, actually you did say something 6 years ago that then made me stop drinking, because my partner stopped drinking a couple months ago, and it inspired one of my best friend and her partner separated while she was pregnant. Really traumatic situation because of his drinking. And it wasn't until they were separated and my partner stopped drinking that he stopped. So it's just like, we have to go through some like really hard suffering to get to like, you know what, I never want that feeling again. I never want to go back there. And the fact that you're sharing your struggles and inspiring other people to share their struggles, and also like, what do I do when I get this sensation is so, it's like, it's just so important, and it's more important than anything in my opinion. So thank you for doing that, and just continuing to, even though it feels uncomfortable, like the fact that you went from where you were to who you are today in just like 80 days or whatever is absolutely extraordinary. I mean, I talk to people a lot. I mean, I'm from the Northeast, and your story is so similar to I mean, my dad, sacrificed my whole childhood, but I'm grateful because that, I mean, he is who he is, and he loves working, right? But it's like story after story after story of getting to that financial wealth, right? That you've always wanted, that you thought like, oh, once I get there as a father, like I'm doing the best thing for my children, right? And then you get there and you're like, you know what? Like I don't have the wholeness. Like I'm lacking so many other pieces. And it's just everybody's driving that same train to depletion, to like, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get the money. I'm going to get the money. But then they get the money and it's still not enough, because we set all these new bars, but like all the other things that are important are just, down the ladder. And so
the hustle culture is,
especially in
perpetuate
business, especially with men in business, right? It's so push, like you said, there's these polar opposites of people, or even just people who are trying to push the masculine, who are trying to push these different ways of being. But what I see, and what I've just been so grateful to be like actually in a room with Justin and Alex, like the men are like whole, like embodied, like they're grounded, they're level-headed, they're like making decisions based off clarity, not out of fear, and it's like all of these different aspects of masculinity that we've lost through all of the trash thrown at it, right? It's coming back in a way like the male actually is holding the container. It is the container, like for all of this feminine energy to flow. And you see it. It's like you and Annie are just driving, you're working, like you're just flowing. Have you ever had that before in business?
No. Well, yes, with I had, at that time I was describing those other businesses, I had a flow with 3 other guys. We were all business partners, and our flow was how to make as much money as possible. And I remember, we were sitting on a boat one day in Chicago, and we were just talking about, we need to add 40,000 a month in revenue to this business. So we sat out on the boat for 5 hours and came up with 4 ideas, 10,000 each per month. And we implemented them over the next month or so, and it worked, right? So I had that kind of flow, but I didn't have any of the balance. And what you're talking about is so important. Because I remember this conversation with my ex, and we were in Minneapolis, and Like the businesses were on this trajectory. And I remember telling her one day in the kitchen, I go, we just made $50,000. Like that was what I used to make at my salary in Chicago before I went on my own. And we kind of laughed. We're like, oh my God. And like, I thought I was winning on all levels, but I didn't know all this spiritual depletion that was underneath it, because I was all about the power of that money. But that's just all fool's gold, dude. Like if you're making 50,000 a year and I give you 50,000 in 1 month, what do most people do? You're going to go spend it. And then guess what? Like I'm going to have a nicer car, and then I'm going to upsize my house a little bit. And then pretty soon that 50 divided over whatever time, like that gets spent. And now you've got a new level of spending, right? You didn't take that 50 and go buy an acre of land that you can grow food on and spend time with your kids. Nobody freaking does that. No, people take the money and they spend more and they get more and they want more. And, going back to the alcohol part of it, that equation, what the spiritual depletion is the real problem. And alcohol is just one way to solve it. People solve it through all sorts of things, pornography or sex addiction, or you can solve it through running. Like you just run too much, like whatever it is, there's something underneath that is not being fed, and you feed it in an unhealthy way. So that's how I found myself in that position, because it was all out of alignment, not working. And it took me until now to figure that out, like to go, oh, that's what I'm trying to encourage guys to do, right? So I just finished my lead magnet yesterday. It's directed mostly towards men, because that's my audience. That's what I'm attracting in right now, but I'm not trying to exclude anybody. It's just kind of who I'm attracting. And it's about dads that are, how to get everything in alignment. And I try to break it down into 5 steps, but it's health, it's family, and like spiritual wellness and community to support all of that. And you got to get people, these men, to go back and take a few steps back, and you're identifying problems out front, like how I'm solving my problems through alcohol and numbing things. Like you got to go back to before and figure out what's out of alignment and fix those things, because that's where the work is. And when you fine tune that part, you get in the engine and you figure out what's wrong and you can solve that, then everything else can flow correctly. But you can't just run more to solve your problem. You can't just work out harder to solve your problem. You can't just be more. I can't grow a bigger beard. Can't grow a beard at all. But I can't just like be more masculine to solve my masculinity problem. I have to be a healthy man first. And that starts with water and figuring out some of these spiritual issues that you need to solve. Then I can show up and be the healthy dad that enables the mom to be in her feminine. Because that's actually, the woman, like when the dad's not right, you got to take over, which happens in 8 out of 10 families in this country, probably. If I just had to throw a number, like it happens all the time, and moms aren't relaxed, and moms are pissed about that and not happy about it, and the dad's not showing up in the right way. And that in the very first paragraph of my ebook, I go, look, this is the old model, doesn't work. You can't just go make the money and then kiss everyone when you come home, and then go in the garage with your Pabst and your lug wrench and turn the tunes up and ignore everybody all night. Like you got to be more present than that. And how do you be more present? Well, go back and solve your own issues first, and then you can really show up, and everyone can be happier. That's what that's about.
That's awesome. And your niche is going to expand the more you bring people into this business and this community. You're going to just, again, just expand. Like with everybody that you see transform, you're just going to be like, wow, like this is possible for everybody who is open, right? Who's at that point. Like you said, if you would have seen Annie's post on any other day, or when you were in a different mindset,
Right.
you're just like, so again, people have different time frames. And that's what I think is so unique about our community, is like, there's so many different ways to plug in. So if you're watching this and you're just like, I don't even know where to start. He came in through the business. She came in through the water. Alex is gardening and farming. Like, where do I start? I would just say, like, start somewhere. Take one thing and could habitually, consistently do it, whether that's drinking the water, tapping in with the community, getting in with all of the Instagrams or Facebook pages, like Jeff was saying, of our community. So you can really get to see and feel like what it would be like to be part of something that is so transformative and so robust, right? Like we can really see just all these different angles coming together in alignment. You keep saying like that word, and it's so important for you because all these things that you thought were going to bring you into alignment, they may have brought one aspect, which is finance, which so many people are just like, I got to make the money, got to make the money. Even people at jobs who aren't even making $40,000 a year, right? They're just like, got to make the money. I see people like that all the time, right? They'll show up for their job way more than they'll show up for themselves, right? So the fact that you now have a community, a product, and a business that embodies like that whole version of you that you want to show up as, and also like that you are, like you're physically taking those actions every single day. I mean, thank you. Thank you for taking that risk. Thank you for just saying yes, because so many people we're going to watch this and haven't said yes yet. And I would just like, if you could share one last thing for them, like if that is them that's watching this, like what would you say to them? Whether they're a dad, whether they're, like wherever they're at their journey, like what would you say to the person who's like, how can he do it? Like there must be something, he's like got some, like they're just making those excuses, right? They're like putting up those walls, like he's got something that I don't have.
Right. Yeah. And it's not, first of all, I would say that the community, thank you for doing this before I did and establishing a community that I could stumble into in my own way. And I feed off the community part of this because it's what inspires me. Like everybody in the community is doing something that I aspire to, pretty much, like all aspects. So, and everyone's doing it their own way. And so I go to this place as a source of, for inspiration to keep moving. And hey, if so-and-so can hit 6A2 and she said she struggled for a while, then I can, if I just stay consistent in 2 years, I can get there. And that's, those are pretty substantial places to be when you can work yourself there through some consistency. So I would say, like, if you found your way here to any of this content, you're probably looking for something better, a better version of yourself, and you're maybe a little bit inspired, but you're thinking maybe I can, or I don't have time. Like that's always the big one. So maybe focus a little bit and sit with the discomfort that you are experiencing right now, and sit with it, and don't just medicate it. Don't just keep consuming other things to make you feel better. Like what is the disconnect between you and where you want to be, where you think you want to be right now? And then understand that that's the gap you got to cover. And if you keep waiting for everything to be right, it's never ever going to happen. Like I have 100 reasons why I shouldn't have done what I did. Even financially, like it's a big investment, and you're going to come up with excuses to keep yourself feeling safe. And if you really sit with your discomfort, and then you're going to feel that desire to change, that can get you through step one. And just come experience the community and tell me something you don't like about it, because I don't think you're going to find anything. And if you can't get inspired, then you're not in touch with the problem enough. And like get a little more acclimated with the problem in order to drive yourself forward. And you'll find your way there one step at a time if you're willing to put one foot in front of the other. I like to, when you're running, when I'm running, trying to run 10 miles, I haven't run that far in however many years since I was in my 20s. I borrow from this show I watched about Navy SEALs, and the main guy always says, stay in your 3-foot world. Like my 3-foot world is how far my foot reaches on my step, right? So if I'm thinking I'm running 10 miles and I'm on mile 1, I'm going to quit. I'm going to find that my ankle hurts today, or my knee hurts today, or this hurts today. I do this in business, I do it in life, and I do it when I'm running and it's really hot and I'm uncomfortable, is I'm just just do right now. I'm running right now. And if I just put one foot in front of the other, I'll get there. And I don't have to solve all these things at once. But if I just maybe change the profile on your social media account to what you want to be, even though you're not there yet, just do that today. Say alcohol-free dad. And like, let everyone say, what the F? Like, I had beers with you last week. Like, that's who I am. And then just do that for a day. And then like, maybe your buddy you'll have one friend that'll say, hey man, that's awesome. I'm here for you. Like, do it. And then just start there. Just do one day at a time, but check out the community. That is the number one thing. Everyone downplays it. I love it. That's where I come here for inspiration. And like, I follow all you guys on social media. I'm inspired. You see what I'm doing and you're inspired. So we're creating the vibe together. And that's how we get where we're going, right? It's the foundation.
Hudson, folks, like this guy is on fire. He's activated, like you said. He's in alignment. He's ready to coach. He's ready to support. Like if you're here listening and you know, connect with any one of us, but this guy it's just so amazing. Like again, people just have so many excuses and you just overcome them so much. So again, if you've listened this far, you know that he doesn't have a problemless life, right? Like there's lots of things that are going on. He's choosing every single day to put himself first. He's choosing his, like you said, his run, his hydration, his mental health, dropping in with the community. And so if you can learn something, anything from this, is just see the drive in this man's body to better his world for his children and for himself, right? And so what's more fatherly than that? So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Where can people find you, Jeff? Where can they follow your experience?
Pretty much probably on Instagram is the spot number one, Dad Activated, or the real Jeff Hudson. You can come to either one. And that's where I'm at. That's where I'm sharing with you guys and following you as well. And I really appreciate this. This is like the fun stuff. And let's do more of this. And you guys are going to come talk on my podcast one day.
Oh, I'd love to.
We'd love to. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Thanks
so much.
Jeff.
Have a wonderful day. Enjoy.
Yes, you too.
Bye.